Welcome back, everybody, to BROpinion, the podcast and YouTube channel where the bros give their opinions on all things pop culture, from rap, music, videos, TV, and anything in between. Of course, I'm your bro Dev, and I'm joined here today.
It's your boy Josh.
Yes, sir. And of course, everybody's zooming right now. We're in the middle of the coronavirus quarantine. So we're just trying to be safe in the world. I hope you guys are too. And we just appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us to take your mind off everything that's going on in the world, of course. And today, the bros, we're just going to go over season 3 of On My Block, which is a very popular Netflix show. If you haven't already, I would definitely check it out. It's definitely worth a watch. Again, 3 seasons. Great episodes, and this season was no different. How do you feel about this season overall, Josh? From start to finish, how would you firstly rank it season-wise, 1, 2, or 3? Would you say is the best, worst, or somewhere in between? And then just your overall reaction.
It's tough. I mean, man, that's a tough question. I think it's up there with me as probably one of the best because there was so much drama, and the thing is, looking at the whole thing, it's like it kind of reminded me of like real life, especially what happens at the end. And we will get to that later, but the ending kind of just shows you that, man, this is actually what happens in high school. Like, this is kind of what could happen usually. So, I mean, of course, there's extenuating circumstances, but I thought the drama, the real life problems, even the gang stuff, I thought it was all good, really good.
Yeah, I think that's what really makes this show special is that we can relate to being in high school and being awkward, and also having to deal with that hood element or that street element that was, at least for me, right outside my door. It was almost unescapable, if not for certain situations. But I would say that this season. I'll leave my ranking for the end, but let's kind of go through what happened here. So just to recap, at the end of season 2, we have the gang getting kidnapped. And when we open up in season 3, we see that the gang, it has indeed been kidnapped, and they've been kidnapped by the head of the Cochillos cartel, which is a local gang in the area. The gang that Caesar's older brother belongs to, actually. And from there, we get their new assignment for the season, more or less. And their goal is, or their assignment from the Cochillo's head, is to find little Ricky. Now, Jamal in last season found the money, and now, since he's so good at solving mysteries, he's been tasked, or they've been tasked with finding little Ricky, the one who stole the roll award money, because in fact, the head of the Cochillos is in love with him and wants him back, or so she says. Uh, so break us down, take us from there, Josh, and kind of walk us through how that kind of played out in the first couple episodes, in this new task that they were assigned.
So yeah, like Devin said, you start out with, we end season 2 where everyone gets kidnapped. Monse's wanting to move out, go to the all girls academy, and then we wake up and we tune in and we see that they're all sitting there next to in front of this fancy lady who calls herself Cuchillos, who's the head of the Santos. So we find out that she gives our intrepid people a task to find little Ricky, who we find out later that apparently they were lovers. So we'll get into that later a little bit. But and because she's a head gang boss, it's kind of gives them ultimatum, like, need to find him or else,
Or else, yeah.
or else you're gonna die. So of course, I remember a famous line was the great one. Ruby says, "Why can't we just live like normal high schoolers and have a normal life
for once?"
Yeah, and I was like, that's a powerful line. And it's funny how that kind of all makes a full circle. So of course, Jamal is excited because now he actually gets to find little Ricky because he thought he was dead, and then you even remember that's the scene where him and Oscar go dig up the grave, and they find out that they had a little gnome in there. So
Yeah.
they go back to the old boy to see if they can find him, even though he's no good to them. And then let's see, I'm trying to think what else. So you're also dealing with, Ruby's still dealing with the PTSD of losing Olivia.
And also almost losing his life.
Yeah.
That bullet was for him. So I'm sure there's a lot of survivor's guilt that Ruby is dealing with when it comes to that type of thing. Um, but yeah, so they've been tasked with finding little Ricky. Jamal hits the ground running because this is Jamal's thing. Solving mysteries is his bag. He's all for it. And I think he's kind of ignoring the seriousness of it. Whereas Ruby is like, man, this is life or death. Literally, she's threatening Ruby more than any of them, the head of the Cochillos. Why, I don't know. But she's really being aggressive with Ruby as far as her tactics. So again, Jamal hits the ground running. He's ready to go. He's got his dig kit out. His dad finds him in the garage, like, "What are you doing?" And he tells his dad everything, but of course his dad doesn't believe him. He just thinks he's just being erratic, as we know Jamal can be. But then we move on, and surprise, surprise, we see a guy walking up, and we're like, "Oh, is that little Ricky? Is that little Ricky? He's coming back to town?" But it turns out to be no other than Caesar's father, Caesar and Oscar's father, which was surprising. And he's fresh out of jail. So walk me through that, Josh, a little bit.
Well, yeah, that's how we then pick up, and that's another big thing, because now you see this interesting dynamic now that Caesar now has his father in the picture, and he wants to get to know his dad because his dad, was gone for a long time. And technically, Oscar's kind of taking that role, and Oscar, who knows the truth of why his dad is gone, doesn't want him there.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting dynamic when you have Caesar trying to hook up with his father, Oscar trying to prevent him from getting hurt like he did, and and on top of that, they're still trying to find little Ricky. And on top of that, little Caesar's still trying to get back with Monse. So all this stuff is piling on Caesar.
Yeah.
And even on and it even starts to pile on Oxford, because then that's when we get introduced to the 19th Street gang, who now, because the other gang is gone, a new gang tried to come in to claim new territory. So now Oscar's not only dealing with his dad coming back to the picture, now he's dealing with this new gang that's trying to who are a bunch of young dudes who are trying to just claim territory. And you got all this happening while Jamal is getting more power hungry, while Ruby is now dealing with the situation that we find out that his parents are struggling financially because of having to pay for his medical bills. And then, of course, you also have Monse, who's trying to figure out her life and trying to figure out if she still wants to go or not, and also trying to somewhat not take it too seriously until she gets the phone call, like, you need to take it seriously or else. So there's just a lot of interesting dynamics, especially in the first, couple episodes,
Yeah. I think last season was more like, Caesar had a problem, and that made it kind of the gang's problem. But now this season, everybody has their own issue that's separate from the group. And I think Monse, when she finds out, like, now we got to do this, we got to find little Ricky, she like, I'm ready to go now. I'm trying to go to this all-girls school. I'm tired of living in Southern California. I'm tired of gangs. I'm tired of all this nonsense. I'm tired of even Caesar at this point. Because you weren't there, or Caesar wasn't there for her the way she felt he should have been when she was dealing with everything with her mother and giving her that ultimatum saying, if you go live with your mother, then we're done. So she rightfully feels some type of way about that. And there's just a lot going on for each of the individual main characters, rather, that kind of piles up on them individually and ultimately affects the group dynamic. So Caesar's father comes back, as any kid would be. He's a little hesitant at first. He's unsure. But he doesn't know the story about his father, so he just wants to get to know him. He just wants to get to know his father. Oscar is trying to be big brother protector, but after so many situations where Oscar has put Caesar in bad situations, obviously obviously Caesar is going to be a little reluctant to his so-called advice or guidance or whatever you want to call it. Um, so so Caesar, Ruby's family is having money problems. So Ruby being Ruby and Jamal being Jamal, they come up with this hair-brained idea to sell chicken sandwiches at the local swimming pool to kind of make some extra money. And at first, I guess things were going okay, but then they ran out of sandwiches and resorted to trying to cook chicken in illicit ways. It walk us through because this is one of the more funnier moments in the season, one of the more lighthearted parts of the season, which was a good little break before we got into a lot of more seriousness into it. So take us through that, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, when you say illicit ways, they literally try to cook the chicken on the ground in the heat, and then as the sun moved, they flip the chicken over, and then with the serving to people. And then that's when Ruby finds out, like, oh man, I might be going to jail. But then that's when Jamal he thinks he hit. I think he starts to somewhat get a breakthrough, and he leaves Ruby to handle his own thing. And I don't know. That's when him and his dad also had like a falling out. Well, not a huge falling out, but they had like an argument or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was definitely like a lighter moment. And you also see in that moment too that Jasmine and Monse start to really click, and that's when Jasmine starts telling Monse like you need to be like the woman in this situation. Like you need to be the best you that you can be. And that's when they start to click, you know? And again, I feel Jasmine had a lot of growth in this season because she went from being a side character to now a mainstay.
She
And
went
it's
to be,
funny.
not to cut you off, she went from being an annoying side character, extra over the top, to being the most level-headed person in the group, which is a complete almost 180 from where she was last season.
Mm-hmm.
And even how she was with Ruby last season compared to this season it's almost night and day. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there because she really held this group together, and she was really at the forefront of moving the investigation along for finding little Ricky. With her ties to working at the police station, she was able to, introduce new clues and different avenues to investigate where little Ricky might be. So yeah, I think she was integral in this season, and I was glad that they toned her down from where she was last season. Last season, they made her like a horned up teenage girl type of person, and this season she was more even keeled and level headed. And I thought that was a really good change.
Oh yeah, I mean to a certain extent, yeah. So, but I mean, it was yeah. I mean, we could yeah. I like that because she was even killed to a certain extent, But I mean, like I said, I liked her because she still was she still was charismatic, but again, she did have some like really big moments, especially with her and Ruby. You know, that there's some really like crucial things that happen. And eventually we'll get to that because actually no, because actually from here, that's when Ruby starts having the urges, and that was kind of funny, like really funny.
Yeah, so he's
So
obviously stressing. He's going through everything. He can't do his normal Ruby release, which is, if you watch the previous seasons, how Ruby relaxes himself. So he wasn't able to do that because of his parents' marital problems. His father has been sleeping in his room. So with that breeds all kinds of teenage hormones and these fantasies about Jasmine. And and to our surprise, Jasmine isn't really feeling Ruby's over eagerness, which was her whole bag last season, to be in this season where she's more even keeled. Which the reason she had deep conversations with Ruby, she had deep conversations with Monse, and all these different things. So moving along in the story, though, Jamal thinks he has a stalker. He's seeing this girl. Nobody else seems to see her but him. And he would see her in the hallways. He would see her in passing. And it turns out that this girl is in fact real and is crushing on Jamal pretty hard. What you think about that?
Hmm. That was an interesting dynamic with her coming into the picture. It's I didn't know I didn't know I didn't know who she was at first, but again, another interesting dynamic that they put in there. Now you have Caesar and Monse love interest. You had Ruby and Jasmine love interest, and now you have a potential love interest to Jamal. So now everybody's kind of has their own love interest, and I was like,
Yeah, I
oh,
didn't think
okay.
about that.
So now it's all even out, even though she was strange from the get go, like super strange, and it
More
was weird.
strange than Jamal, which is has to be pretty high on the strange range. If you're higher, more strange than Jamal, she was even more strange than that. So definitely they were complementary to each other's strangeness, at least I could say. But
Yeah.
yeah, it turns out this girl is crushing on him hard. She turns out she's homeschooled and she wants to use Jamal for his body for for educational purposes, let's say.
Educational purposes.
Yeah, educational purposes. So I mean, things progress pretty quickly with this girl, and Jamal becomes a man, more or less, in the modern sense. And um, this brought on a change that I'm going to touch on a little later. But this Jamal became this. I don't know. He became like a super smooth kind of. I kind of seen like the. It's almost like he went from Steve Urkel to Stefan Urkel after that that encounter. What do you think about that?
That's a good reference. Good Family Matters reference. But yeah, he definitely took that change. I guess you could say he became a little bit more mature. I guess he was still Jamal, but he was Jamal in a mature way now, and it's funny because now that you have Jamal coming in this mature way, I think everybody kind of in the season matured in their own different way, and I think that was the purpose, the main purpose of this season, kind of to show growth and mature as things continue to move forward. And I like that. I think that was in my mind, that was the theme for this overall season, was like growth, and basically to see that literally every character grew from where they were season 2 to season 3. Even Oscar grew. So I mean, like it was crazy, bro. And again, like you still have all the different dynamics going at it with each other. You still got the Caesar's dad now works with Jamal's dad for a certain amount of time. 19th Street is starting to pick it up a little bit with their aggressiveness, and of course Guccio is still making threats. So I mean, it's great. I like it. I like it.
19th Street really does pick up their aggressiveness when it comes to they want the territory. Last season we had through the plan through the group they got that old gang locked up. I forget the name of the gang. What was Latrell's gang's name? They got them all locked up.
Profits.
The Prophets got the Prophets locked up. So now 19th Street is like, hey, it's time to make a move. Let's claim some of this territory. They're pressing hard. They're coming to Jamal's dad's barbecue shack, and they're pressing everybody. Caesar's dad, and all of that stuff. And they're going to play a big role in how the season unfolds because Cochillo still wants her results. She wants little Ricky for whatever reason, whether to rekindle their relationship or to kill him. That's really that's really the mystery. Is why did she want little Ricky? She says it's because she was in love with him, love her life. But we kind of get this idea that it may be a little bit more. So flash forward a little bit later. Monse is still dealing with the situations when it comes to her mom about how everything played out, how 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 her mother behaved in certain situations, in that situation rather, and how she found out that her mom lied and stuff, ran and didn't want to be with her father and lied about him being abusive. So She gets a phone call from her mother.
Not a
And
mother.
she gets a phone call. I thought it said her mom was on the caller ID. I don't know.
Yeah, her mom was the caller ID. That's correct.
So yeah, so I don't know if that was her or if it was her husband calling from the number. I don't really know, but there was a voicemail that was left, and Monse, through the insistence of Oscar, deleted the message. Oscar dealing with his own parental issues says, "Don't give your mother the satisfaction of calling her back." So Monse deleted the voicemail. And lo and behold, a few scenes later, we find out that Monse's mom has in fact died. Now, was that Monse's mother calling with the last voicemail that she's never going to get to hear? We don't know. But Monse's mother dies, and she now has this new dynamic that she has to deal with in regards to that. So, kind of walk us through that, Josh. How did you feel about Oscar and Monse's little moment with their each individual parental issues, and kind of go from there?
It's just interesting, especially in Monse's case. Parents are in two separate places. One is considered the hood. The other one is in a upstanding, you know, neighborhood, and you can see the difference between the two. Um, and it was tough, especially because in the end she was still her mother, and now she's dealing with loss, just like technically Ruby dealing with the loss of a loved one because he loved Olivia. And now you're also dealing with, Caesar, who again he's trying to deal with his dad, and once his dad and Oscar had that conversation, and then he ends up, Oscar ends up crying and then hugging after him. He ends up leaving, and then he ended up calling Caesar and telling him that he was gone, and of course the first person that Caesar blamed was Oscar, because he thought Oscar was trying to kick him out, even though Oscar was trying to do what was right. And it's just tough, man, because you see these two kids who are also trying to, get their love interest back after going on their first date again, after their actual first date and everything.
Yeah.
They both go through these traumatic experiences with their parents, and now it's just like, man, are they gonna make it work? Can they make it work?
Yeah, and they're both dealing with these parental issues where they both more or less lost a parent. Caesar's father just, he left again, and Monse's mother actually died. So there's a lot of things unsaid in both situations that I'm sure they wish they could have said, but didn't. So we move on from there. Oscar goes to the head of the Cochillos, and she tries to reason with them about how to handle not only 19th Street, but to buy his little brother and his friends more time to find little Ricky, or if they can go without that. And she's having none of it. She wants little Ricky, and she's not willing to yield with the 19th Street gang at all. So they ultimately come up with a plan, the gang rather, and Oscar, that Cochillos has got to go. They got to take her out. So they start devising a plan of how to do so. But Cochillos was a little too smart for him, at least to start. Wouldn't you say, Josh?
Yeah, she was. Like I said, Cuchillo, she had an interesting power play in this whole situation. So, yeah, that's my thoughts, really.
Yeah, she set it up where Oscar thought he was setting her up. Ultimately, he was the one that was then put in the cage by the 19th Street gang and at gunpoint, and we didn't know if he was going to make it out or not. It had been 3 days since Caesar had seen him, so of course he's freaking out. He's snapping on everybody, about his brother, risking his life for everybody, and we don't know whether Oscar is alive or not.
and you
Um,
and you have to also remember that this is right after they thought they had the biggest breakthrough, and they go to find out that the guy who they thought was Little Ricky wasn't, and now they're kind of noticing that, okay, this is getting bad now, and
yeah,
we got to think of something else. So now, Oscar tried to stick his neck out, and now he's he's getting outsmarted, and now it's like, okay, well, what's gonna happen now, bro? And I like the little back and forth. It shows that gang members. Not all gang members are stupid. So
Oh yeah, for sure. So so Oscar's disappeared. Again, Caesar's freaking out. And then we have from there, we have the gang. They wind up at a video shoot, um, for where they think this is in the midst of. Is this in the midst of where Caesar is missing, or is this after or before? I can't really recall when they were at the video shoot, right after Jamal made that big breakthrough.
well, no, Caesar's there. Caesar's there because
Well,
remember all of them
Oscar, I
are
mean.
there. Oscar, I think, is gone right after. Like right after they get the music video shoot, that's when they find out he's gone, and that's when the
Okay.
project gets dealt up.
All right. So, Leah, let's back that up a little bit then. Yeah. So, Oscar or Jamal, he was in his room. He's listening to an old song from season two, I believe. And he notices a pattern from this music producer called Father Goose, who has a very rudimentary ABC nursery rhyme type of flow. And he's like, hey, this is possibly Little Ricky, because when he spoke to the black lady who sings, I don't know her name, I hate to call her that, but she mentioned that he helped singers and he helped her, get to where she was. So Jamal connects the dots. He then assumes Father Goose must be Little Ricky. So they go to this video shoot, and they're on the video shoot trying to meet Father Goose, trying to confirm whether or not this is true. And just to move things along, that all falls through. Father Goose is not, in fact, Little Ricky. And then that is where the plan is hatched that Cochillas has to be taken out. Oscar does his thing, try to rectify the situation. It doesn't work. And now Caesar has to step up to take Cochillas out. So he talks to the Santos, and says, hey, have you guys seen Little Ricky? I mean, have you guys seen Oscar? I haven't seen him in 3 days. And then he hatches his plan that he's going to be the one to take out Cochillos, and gets a gun. And then that's when things kind of go awry. So from there, Josh, so from when they were at the hotel, um, and everything is set to go, he has the gun. Him and Monse are there, and they're ready to kill Cochillos. Kind of walk us through what happens next.
The hotel.
Yeah, they were at the hotel, and then they walk out, and the 19th Street gang pulls up in the car.
Oh, and they gave him the letter, and yeah, they said, okay, we need to meet us here at this certain location. Yeah. And the crazy thing is, right before that, that's when Ruby confessed to Jasmine that he likes her, but she didn't want to be like, a side piece or anything like that. Or she thought at first that Ruby only was loving her because it was trying to help her grief, and she didn't want to be like that. And it's great how eventually that's going to end up coming back. So, but yeah, so I mean, after that, they get the letter that they need to meet at this certain place. Caesar's still trying to remain hopeful that his brother's still alive. They go out to the middle of nowhere on the highway. And that's when tensions get really, really like big, because that's when they're all sort of arguing within each other.
Yeah.
And of course, that's when Monse tried to, be
Her glue self. She tried to, ease tensions, but Oscar is visibly stressed. I mean, Caesar is visibly stressed. He doesn't know where Oscar is. They're thinking they're going out there to, I guess, find Oscar's body. So, and Jamal and Ruby are Jamal is being his eccentric self, more or less, and not taking the situation as seriously as it should have been taken.
but then he had the epiphany, and that's when he realized, like, okay, maybe I need to either I can't remember if he said he needs to loosen up his grip, or he kind of came into self-realization. He's like, okay, like I realize he kind of had that waking up that come to he kind of had that, oh snap,
Epiphany.
and he kind of woke out of it, and now he's back into reality, and he realized what his reality could be. And of course, Ruby doing the smart thing also was protecting Jasmine, so he did that. And then it's, and I love that tension just kept building. And then once it heard somebody, Caesar shot the gun in the air, told them to stay back, and that's when they find the grave. And lo and behold, in the grave is lying Cochillos. And you're
Not
like,
Oscar.
Not Oscar.
Cochillos.
So then you're wondering, like,
what happened? Yeah, what happened? Where's Oscar? How did this happen? And that is where my major issue with this season is the whole how Cochillo's situation played out. They never bothered to give us any clarity as to what happened to Cochillos, what happened with Oscar, how did Oscar escape the 19th Street gang. None of that.
They gave some clarity, actually. So remember, he made a deal with 19th Street. And he told them, basically, from the beginning, Caesar, remember, because after this, that's when we see Oscar back into place with the 19th Street gang making up a new gang agreement or whatever.
Right.
So he planned it out with 19th Street to say, look, if we take her out, we can split all the profits. But we have to take her out. So the clarity was that whatever deal he struck with the 19th Street, we don't know how they did it, but they eventually killed her and brought her out there to basically bury her and let it be. So
yeah, but for the season to be building to that moment this whole time, and then all we see is a body in a grave, I kind of felt robbed a little bit. I don't know about you, but I'm like, hey, I wanted to see a trigger get pulled. I don't know, something, because this was a major issue, and it's kind of like they were running out of time, and they're just like, okay, here you guys go, body. And then Oscar just randomly shows back up. He's home. He's obviously beat up. He's got some gashes on him, and he's getting patched up by Abuela, I believe is what Jamal calls her. From there, let's really hit hard these last couple moments. I mean, everything's over. All is good. As you said, Oscar strikes a deal with the 19th Street gang about peace. He said it's too much money in these streets. We don't need to be fighting and killing each other. And he mentioned to Caesar earlier, like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life, man. I want to have kids. I want to have a wife. I want to live a normal life without having to look over my shoulder, essentially, which, I mean, most gang members don't really get to that age to have those type of thoughts. They're usually dead or in prison before that happens. But Oscar was like, I'm tired of this lifestyle. And I think that came from a talk that he actually had with his father. It was like, if he had to do it all over again, he would have made different choices. And we come to find out that even Cochillos is the reason why the dad went to jail in the first place. So that really planted the seed in Oscar's mind. Like the street life ain't as loyal as it's supposed to be, and it doesn't have what I have bigger aspirations than this. Yeah. And he said to Oscar and Oscar's dad. What's Oscar's dad's name? Whatever. Oscar and the dad really said the same thing to Caesar, which is, I'm proud of you. You have so many options. You don't have to go this route, which is a turn from where Oscar was a season ago, which is where he like, hey, Caesar, go put in work, handle your business with Latrell, all that stuff like that. So it's good to see that Oscar is finally coming to the realization that this street life don't love you and ain't loyal to you as you are loyal to it. So we get Monse, everything's over, beef squashed. We get Monse ready to go off to school, all girls school. I think it's a private school. And she's having a little bit of second thoughts She's unpacking. Kind of walk us through that one.
I'm sorry, you repeat that question one more time? You went in and out.
Yeah, so everything's settled. Beef's over. Monse's ready to go off to school, but she's having second thoughts. So she's trying to unpack the boxes while her dad is packing. But she's obviously, now that everything has died down, she's kind of reevaluating if she in fact wants to even go off to school anymore.
Yeah. So, and you can understand because Monse, she felt like after this whole ordeal, I think she also realized that her importance, that she needs to be here to kind of keep the gang together, and it was our home. Like she said, okay, this is like me. But her dad kept pushing her like, no, like you can be better than this. You have to make this your life. And then even Caesar agrees with her dad.
Yeah.
And after some convincing, she eventually does go. I remember that was kind of an emotional scene because she's in the car and they're all having their last hugs, and you know, Jamal gives her like the emergency suitcase, the emergency bag. You know, Ruby and Jasmine are. You can see they're kind of they made up, and you know
they're a couple now. Yeah,
they're a couple now, and you know Caesar, they can do their last kiss, and then you had the scene that everybody was talking about on the internet, like crazy. When they fast forward, I believe it was.
Hold on, before you do that. So there was a gift that Jasmine gave Monse before she left, and it was a photo of all of them together.
Mm-hmm.
And Jasmine, she wasn't in the photo, but she made photos of herself. She put it around the frame. Yeah. And Monse says, "Oh, I love it. I'm going to keep this picture right next to my bed, right in front, so I can look at it every day." So then that's when we get to the flash forward. So take us to that flash forward.
Now, forget how long.
I can't wait.
How long was it? 6 months?
No, it was more than 6. I think it was 2 years, actually.
Oh, they did say 2 years later. That's right. I guess it was 2 years later, I think. So I'm guessing it's her senior year. But now you fast forward senior year.
Ooh.
Monse is now at her school. She's with 3 other girls. They're hanging out, whatever, and the camera keeps panning. And then you see has all pictures of her girls on there, and the picture of the gang back in their hood is in the back, covered. And I'm like, uh-oh.
Covered in dust in the back.
Then, I don't know. And then you come back to school and you see Jamal is now wearing a football uniform, talking to football people, like he's chilling, doing his thing. And then you see Ruby and Jasmine walk by as a couple holding hands. And then they have the eye contact, and Jamal and Ruby kind of have the eye contact. It's like, oh, what's up, bro? Like, haven't like talked to you in forever, kind of thing, and kind of like, I'm just gonna keep it moving. And then of course Jamal goes back to his conversation, and it's like, oh snap, okay. And then lo and behold, you see some dude.
Hold on. Let's pause right there, because that's the scene we gotta go through. So pause right there. So Monse's biggest fear for leaving was that she was the glue to the game. The foursome, now fivesome, she was the glue. She was worried if she went off to school that they wouldn't be friends anymore. So, and I don't know through whose fault or if there's anyone to blame, or just, you know, if you remember back when you were a sophomore, did you have the same friends when you were a senior? Maybe some, maybe not at all. I switched schools, so personally, I didn't. I had to make all new friends. So, and Jamal, I was most happy for Jamal. Like I said, when he became a man, it looked like he really mellowed out. He became smooth, suave, and sophisticated. And he was on the football team. He looked like he had a lot of friends. He was doing his thing. He was a jock. He was smiling, laughing, having a good time. And, you know, he sees Ruby and Jasmine walk by, and they make this eye contact like, you know, like you make with people that you used to know. Even sometimes you might be in Walmart, you see somebody you went to high school with, that might have been cool, but y'all don't really speak. You just look at them and maybe you acknowledge each other, maybe you don't. And it seems that Monse's fears have come true. That's that they're not friends anymore. And then we flash forward one more time. Well, we have 2 more flash forwards. Well, not more forward, but we have 2 other people that 2 years later, we see a guy at a barbecue in his backyard, assumably. He's flipping burgers. He's having a good time. Full head of hair. Um, and, and I'm like, who is this guy? You know, a girl walks up and she's pregnant, and he rubs her belly and he kisses her, and it's Oscar. And he's out of the gang. He's out of the Santos. He has a house. He has a family. He has, or at least, yeah, he has a family. He has a kid on the way. He has friends in the backyard. He's barbecuing. He's living the all-American dream, you know, white picket fence in the suburbs. And we're like, wow, good for Oscar. Because I didn't recognize him. He had hair, and I was like, who is this guy? And Oscar has been bald since jump.
Right.
So, and then the last one. What happened with our boy Caesar? Take us through that, Josh.
So the very last scene is you see somebody getting their butt whooped. Just bah, bah, bah. And
they getting packed out on the set, homie.
And then you notice that, oh, someone's going to initiate to the game.
Yes, sir.
And then you see someone go like this to basically say stop. And you turn around, and it's Caesar. He got his hair cut now. It's bald. Just he kind of looks like Spooky now. Like he's like the new Spooky, the new leader.
Hold on,
because Caesar did bring up to Oscar, like, what if someone wanted to assume power or whatever? And then Oscar said that they can decide to take it. So I was like, oh, okay. And then you also see on a tattoo on Caesar's heart that shows his heart was split. So I'm like, oh. So I think I did see that there is probably going to be a season 4, and I'm very, very interested to see how it's going to go, because I'm wondering what's going to bring them, like what's going to bring Monse back.
It's got to be a traumatic event, I would imagine. So, but before, just to backtrack a little bit, when the homie getting packed out on the set, we see from behind this guy. He buff, he looked like he got some muscle, and on his back, he's got the cross with the Santos on it. Okay. And we turn around, and it is Caesar, as you said, and he's got a broken heart tattoo with like it was like a skull. And I took that to mean like R.I.P. Spooky or whatever, but I don't know if that's what it actually means or if that was just whatever. But obviously his heart is broken. I don't know if that's from Monse. I don't know if that's from Oscar choosing to leave the gang. I don't know. It could even be his father. So we really don't know. But obviously, this is, I wouldn't say that it's shocking, because we all know that Oscar was being lured to that street life since season 1. I mean, it's in his DNA, literally. His dad, his brother, and him. So he's gone full on gang boss at this point, and I can't imagine what's going to bring him out of that. And like you said, if there is a season 4, only thing that's bringing Monse back, only thing that's bringing this gang back together, I would say would be a traumatic event. So someone has to die. Someone has to be seriously wounded. Maybe it's Oscar. Maybe it's Caesar. Because I think those are the 2 people that are most in harm's way. But who knows? Could be anything. But yeah, that was, my jaw literally dropped when I seen that scene of Caesar basically replacing Oscar. And from all those talks, from everything Monse's told him, from everything that his dad told him in a short amount of time, that you have so much potential, you could do whatever you want. He really, I guess he just got tired of running from who he felt he was always going to be. So I thought it was overall a good season. The pacing was a little rushed at the end. If I had to rank the seasons, I would say that this would be solidly second over season 2. Season 1, for no other reason than how it ended, it remains the best season for me. But how would you rank it? Would you say 1, 2, or 3 if you were going to rank the seasons?
1, 3, 2.
Okay. Yeah, so same. So 1 through 2, we both agree on that. I mean, I would give this season, it's definitely watchable, especially if you're already invested. You got to see it. The flash forward really, it threw me for a loop. I don't want Caesar to go that route, but I'm not surprised. And especially these last couple of seasons, he's been really on the edge with this street life all along.
Yep.
And he finally succumbed to it, and now we got this Spooky Junior, Baby Spooky, or whatever you want to call him. Little Spooky, I think, is what the Santos called him before. So he's really out here in these streets. So hide your kid, hide your wife, because Little Spooky out here. But yeah, it was a good season. We would love to know what y'all think about the season. Let us know where we're wrong. Let us know where we're right in the comment section below. Also, stay tuned. We're going to try to make these more regular. Just because we're quarantined and we need entertainment, it's fun for us to do. Look forward to special guests from all over the globe, especially the homies up north in Ohio holding it down. Just be on the lookout. Josh, anything you want to add to this before we get up out of here?
Stay safe, everybody, man. Just keep each other up in prayers, bro. We're going to get through this.
Absolutely. And if you ain't working but getting paid, thank the Lord, because that is the vacation that you probably needed. You've probably been stressing. Hey, enjoy this time of slow down and quarantine and, just a little bit of settling, and just know that everything is going to be all right. And we'll see you next time, my bro Opinion. This is your bro Dev.
It's your bro Josh.
And we out of here.